era TT Radio, NETT Radio.
Welcome to Drive Time Exchange. As rubber hits the road, hard talk meets great music. Monday to Thursday, 4 to 6 p.m. on NETT Radio, taking you above and beyond.
Trinidad is a boat sailing on the earth. I go sail on it. Oh Lord, I go sail on it. Whether it fast or slow, wheresoever it goes, I go in with it. Tell them I go in with it. I go sail when the tide is flat. I go sail when the tide is near. If she go sailing with the boat, sink or float, a sailing with the boat. A sailing with the boat, sink or float, a sailing with the boat. Through hurricane and storm, hell or high water come. And when she needs a push, I'm going to push like bush. If Trinidad is a boat, I go sail on it, sink or float. Under scrutiny, who plotting mutiny, and I'm watching them. I say I'm watching them. Who giving the captain lip, and all who abandon ship, and I'm marking them. I say I'm marking them. Stowaways, cheap and free passage, castaways with excess baggage, crimson. Sailing with the boat, sink or float, a sailing with the boat. A sailing with the boat, sink or float, a sailing with the boat. Through hurricane and storm, hell or high water come. And when she needs a push, I'm going to push like bush. If Trinidad is a boat, I go sail on it, sink or float. By birth, calypso in my throat, and I'm sailing on. I say I'm sailing on. Train may go in. White and black is my flag, and I'm moving on. I say I'm moving on. It is right.
All right, everybody. Good afternoon to you, and of course, welcome to the Drive Time Exchange. Of course, you are here on New Era TT Radio, the heartbeat of the Caribbean. This is where we take you above and beyond, right? And of course, we are led by none other than Tony Fraser inside of the Drive Time Exchange. So, Tony, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you, Charlo. A good shower this afternoon. I know you like the showers coming down to cool.
Can't get enough of it. I can't get enough of it, Tony.
And your music is right in line with what we want to talk about now. Ships sailing, or ships of all kinds, big warships and pirogues, fishing pirogues. And we're talking about the legal aspects of these vessels passing through the Caribbean Sea, and more pointedly, how does a government, a country, full resources to wipe the pirogues out of the sea, any kind of vessel out of the sea, how does it act in such a situation, the legality of it? Yesterday, we had a good a view of the law of the sea and international interaction between and amongst states by the retired diplomat Stephen Kangal. And this afternoon, we're looking at, as I said, some of the legal elements of it. How do you attack a vessel in what kinds of circumstances and the kind of force that is allowed? And most of all, are those persons, whether they are guilty or not of some form of crime, do they have the right to be heard in their own interests? So those are some of the matters we are going with in this first section. In the second section, we're talking about the opening of the school term, and we have the appropriate persons for that. For this first section of the program, we are happy to have with us Senior Counsel Larry Lalla, who has written about some of these legal matters that I've just talked about. And I want to thank you, Larry, for being on the program this afternoon and to give our listeners and our viewers an appreciation of, as I said, the legal matters surrounding how a country can intervene when there are suspicions in these matters. Welcome to the program, sir, and thanks for saying yes to my invitation.
Thank you very much, Tony, and good afternoon to you.
Okay, so we want to start off by talking about, as far as you are aware, what transpired in the waters. And well, I have not heard any specifics about where exactly that vessel was when the attack came upon it. But let's talk about the legal aspects of a country intervening under such suspicions.
Well, I mean, from the reports that we have had coming from the U.S. authorities, it appears as though the attack on the vessel with the alleged 11 persons aboard occurred in international water somewhere in the Caribbean Sea, in Venezuela. That is as much information as.
Okay, we're having a little bit of audio buzz with you. Charlo, is there any way that we can improve that sound?
Well, I'm not too sure if it's the internet,
Okay,
because
with a few dropouts here and there.
yeah.
Okay, so let's return. Maybe it will clear up over time.
Let's hope it clears up as we go along. Yeah.
It's not all that bad, but there's a little buzz here and there in it. So yes, we are not too sure, Larry, given what what information that we've got about exactly where this thing happened. But if there is suspicion in the circumstances, what is the legal procedure that has to be adopted?
Well, once it is.
Okay, we seem to have lost you completely now. I don't know if you're hearing me, but we seem to have lost you. Again, it may be the internet going and coming in your area or in our area, or whatever it is, but we are not. Try again and let's see if we get it.
Yeah. Larry, what you can do for me, log off and log back in quickly, and let's see if that will settle the situation for me now, please. Yeah.
Okay, so we are.
So while he does that, to see if because I mean the internet is it's what we are using, and sometimes it runs well. Sometimes it runs all manner of not doing what it is supposed to do, and then I suppose with all the rains and all the other things.
Technology is not an easy thing.
No, it doesn't.
Create it.
It doesn't.
Right,
it doesn't
Larry Lalla is back on. Say something, Larry. Let's hear how it sounds. We are not hearing you at all. Sorry, Larry, we are not hearing you at all.
Larry, are you hearing us at all?
Loud and.
Yeah.
Okay. We heard you for a second there. Say something again.
Is there anything externally connected, like your a microphone or anything, or is it just like your laptop or something? No microphone.
There is a buzz there somewhere coming from somewhere. I don't know, Chalo, if you can talk with him off here, maybe that can you can assist him in getting that sound correct. In the meantime, we can go back to Trini sailing the boat.
All right. Okay. Let's see.
If Trinidad is a boat sailing on the earth, I go sail on it. Oh Lord, I go sail on it. Whether it fast or slow, wheresoever it goes, I go in with it. Tell them I go in with it. I go sail when the tide is flat. I go sail when the tide is near. If she going to hell and back, I go make the trip. I want to make the trip. I sailing with the boat, sink or float. I sailing with the boat. I sailing with the boat, sink or float. I sailing with the boat. Through hurricane and storm, hell or high water come.
All right, so let's see what we can try again. So, Tony, what we'll do, we'll take Mr. Lalla on the phone, right?
Okay.
All right, so Larry, are you hearing me okay?
I'm hearing you very clearly.
Okay.
Okay.
And we are hearing you very clearly now also.
Yeah.
So
What
let's start. Let's start again. Make use of the time. We also have some injury time to make up there. So let's go quickly. Larry Lalla, senior counsel, talking about the legal elements surrounding what the Americans called a strike on what they said was a suspected drug boat, and they wiped the vessel out of the sea with 11 persons. How does that square with the law regarding such a thing, Larry Lalla?
Yeah, so once the strike occurred in international waters, right, that is waters beyond the exclusive economic zone of any country. In this instance, we're speaking about countries nearby like Trinidad and Tobago, Venezuela, maybe Grenada. Once it occurs in international waters, Tony, there are certain principles that apply according to international law, right? So, under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, of which Trinidad is a signatory, there is a principle called the Freedom of Navigation Principle. The Freedom of Navigation Principle states that the high seas are free from the jurisdiction of any state, meaning that vessels are allowed to sail freely without interference by any country once they are on the high seas. The exception to that rule, there are basically two exceptions. One, if the vessel is a flagged vessel, that is, it is sailing under the flag of a particular country, then even if the vessel is on the high seas, that country will have jurisdiction over the vessel and could intervene, stop the vessel, etc., etc. There's also the principle of hot pursuit. That is, if a vessel is suspected of being involved in an offense within the jurisdictional waters of a country, that country can pursue that vessel without any interruption into international waters. And in those international waters, intercept the vessel and conduct, interrogation, etc., etc. Maybe arrest persons depending upon the evidence available. But certainly, there is no principle of international law or any law that I know of that allows a country without first trying to intercept a vessel, trying to conduct some form of arrest, interrogation, etc., to simply blow the vessel to smithereens in international water. That is unheard of. And it is a very real international concern coming out of this incident that took place a few days ago.
Now, one concern must surely be to add to what you've already said is that when the vessel poses no real threat, a pirogue of that size poses no real threat to what? To 3 or 4, I don't know how many of the war vessels of the United States in the region. That must raise some questions.
Yeah, and it has, if one goes on the internet and searches for feedback internationally on this incident, persons are aghast, and they are trying to get some explanation from the United States as to the legal basis for the action that was carried out. And certainly, there is nothing that is forthcoming. Notably, the President of the United States said, well, this was a drug vessel on the way to the United States. The United States has a duty protected citizens from this drug scourge, etc., etc. Well, I mean, that is all well and good. I'm not certain that allows the United States to blow up the vessel on the high seas. But in any event, you recall that the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, when he was questioned about it, he said, well, the vessel was probably on the way to Trinidad and Tobago. So he said something different, which really takes away from the authority that the American president asserted to justify what was done to the vessel. But certainly, nothing at all justifies and could explain the reaction of our Prime Minister that they should all be killed violently. Kill them all violently. I believe that those were the words. Yeah.
I want you to go there in a moment, but before we do that, is it feasible that there should be some more detail about this explosion, about the vessel? We've not heard anything about it. I don't know if it's, as you said, blown to smithereens and the parts down at the bottom of the sea somewhere. One would have expected that there would be some details of the vessel, the people on the vessel, where they came from, where they were going to in specific terms, as you rightly said. Marco Rubio talks about it going to Trinidad and Tobago, and the president talks about it going to the US. And incidentally, one of Rubio's, I suppose, defense of doing what the Americans have done is to say that these drug people have been killing Americans for decades, and therefore reason enough to blow them out of the sea.
Yeah, looking at all the reports that have come forward so far, there is no information whatsoever as to, first of all, who were the persons on this vessel, what intelligence was there to show where they came from, where this vessel was loaded, what the vessel was loaded with, because we're talking about drugs, but there's no evidence, no intelligence whatsoever that I have seen, and I dare say no one has seen, to say that what was on this vessel was drugs. We don't know, because all the evidence has been destroyed, so there is nothing apart from that video that we have all seen to show that this vessel and the human beings on board, and that is something we have to remember at all times. These were human beings, and regardless of what they may have been involved in, if they were involved in anything illegal, they had a right to due process, which involved being intercepted, being interrogated. If the interrogation showed that there was reason to charge them, being charged, being taken before a court of law, having the prosecution prove its case, find them guilty. And the comment that I made a few days ago is that under our law in Trinidad and Tobago and even the United States, even if they were found guilty of the most heinous form of drug trafficking, there is no penalty of execution, right? Or extrajudicial killing, or anything like that.
And,
so it is. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you finish your point and I'll come in.
So it is very disturbing that this could be allowed to happen, and persons are not asking more questions and seeking more answers to this. And the unfortunate thing is that if the region and if internationally this incident is allowed to go like that, then we're going to have repeated incidents. Now, it is far-fetched to believe or to accept that we could have fishermen, Tony, out plying their trade, and they are mistaken for drug runners, and the same thing happens to them. Yeah. So it is something that we as a country need to take very seriously. And from what I've seen from our authorities so far, we're not doing that.
Right. Now, to take up the point that you started making, in all of those circumstances, having talked about it, and the haziness, in fact, the complete opaque situation where no information is given, our Prime Minister jumps into the middle of all of it and makes the kind of statement that she makes. Isn't that, to say the least, a little bit irresponsible of our government, the leader of our government, of our country, coming out in the situation as you've described it and as well known by the world over, to make the kind of comments that she has made?
Yeah, I mean, you have put it mildly. I think it's shocking that our Prime Minister could say something like that. I mean, we have more than our fair share of crime, and it's important to do something about it, something decisive, so that people could feel safe when they go about their normal everyday business in Trinidad and Tobago. But nothing could justify the leader of our country making an irresponsible, reckless, and inflammatory statement like she did. It is very disturbing. I'm hoping that the press will get an opportunity to ask the Prime Minister some more questions about that comment. It will be interesting to know whether she had any information beforehand about what happened, and who these people were, what they were doing, what that may have led her to make that comment. But if she had no information, then to simply make that comment and to lend the weight of Trinidad and Tobago to an extrajudicial killing, it is something that is deeply disturbing.
Okay. Where does that put Trinidad and Tobago in the midst of what can be a conflict that will spread throughout the region and even further from there? Does this in any way disable us from, being forthright in the circumstances? And of course, there's a point that she made is that to the effect, to hell with CARICOM can do what they want to do individually, but this is her position. Where does all of that put us, Trinidad and Tobago, both in terms of regionally and internationally?
Well, I mean, I think you have answered your own question. It certainly puts us at loggerheads and in conflict with the rest of CARICOM, as we have seen. CARICOM, as it is being said over and over again, has always been seen as a zone of peace right? We have not had wars fought in our region, with the exception of, with Cuba and Jamaica, Cuba and Grenada, those incidents. We have not had any country in the region involved in any war or anything like is happening presently. And it is something that CARICOM is taking a very serious view of, as we have seen in the various press releases. I believe that they have asked for an open channel of communication with the United States so that they could better understand, what has happened and to ensure that it does not happen again. But it is unfortunate that in all those efforts, we are not taking a lead, but we are really being a protagonist in what so far is seen as extrajudicial killings of persons on the high seas.
Finally, is there a way back for Trinidad and Tobago from this position that we have gone ahead and taken without, due consideration for the circumstances?
Well, I mean, where there's a will, there's a way, right, Tony?
Yeah.
The question is whether they will to find a way back for Trinidad and Tobago, and I'm not certain that we have seen any indication that there is such a will. The Prime Minister has been very unapologetic for her statement, and she has doubled down on it in the press. The obvious concern is that if the head of our country endorses extrajudicial killings on the high seas or out at sea, then what is the position in relation to extrajudicial killings within Trinidad and Tobago and the actions of the police service? Those are questions I think she will have to answer, or I hope she will be called upon to answer within the very near future.
Larry Lalla, Senior Counsel, thank you very much for elucidating on those essential points of the contention. We all know about it. It happened, a week and a half ago, and there is certainly more to come given the circumstances of the present. Thank you very much for clearing up some matters for us this afternoon. Senior Counsel Larry Lalla. All right, so as we continue into the second part of this afternoon's program, as indicated at the top, we're going to talk about school opening, and there is always contention back and forth at the opening of a term after, this is a whole year really, 2 or 3 terms in the year. And this one is no different. We're going to have the president of the PTA and the president of the Teachers Association, the Trinidad and Tobago Unified Teachers Association, talking with us in a moment. So, Charlie, we take a break and we allow our new guests to settle themselves in the studio.
And when she needs a push, I'm going to push like push. If Trinidad is a boat, I go sail on it, sing chorus.
Pay $1 down on higher purchase plans at Furniture Plus. Enjoy fast approval, low interest rates, and up to 36 months financing. Retirees, self-employed, and permanent employees apply today. Buy now, pay later with Furniture Buy.
Charm Flair Auto Services Limited, your one-stop auto repair shop, located at number 1 Industrial Lane, Charm Flair, right opposite the brewery on the Eastern Main Road. Yes, we do it all. Repairs to all makes and models, from your everyday sedan to SUV and panel vans. We're also the sole distributors of Davante tires, certified VTS inspection station, plus a wide range of services: oil change, front end and suspension repairs, tune-ups, tire alignment, batteries, electrical work, radiator and cooling, and accessories galore. We offer pickup and drop-off service too. Call us today at 662-6545 or 662-6572 Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Charmflair Auto Services Limited, number 1 Industrial Lane, Charm.
Just got better. Join Sir Charles for the mid-morning mix and mingle, where good music, real talk, health, and family matters come together, and your voice is heard. Whether you're at work, on the go, or just taking a break, this is the perfect mix to keep you engaged, informed, and entertained. The mid-morning mix and mingle, weekdays, 9 a.m. to 12 noon on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
In days of old, when men were poor and paper was not yet in plenty, men used to wipe their fly contented. Hey, Larry, I see two old man be so fast that they make me laugh. Larry, run down quick, little boy, run down quick. Donkey trip on your sister stick, so little boy, run down quick. A breeze between two mountains.
All right, everybody. So inside the Drive Time Exchange, of course, you are right here on the Era TT Radio. And of course, yes, Tony Fraser is our host inside the Drive Time Exchange and Monday and a Tuesday. Tony, once again, it's back to you.
Thank you very much, Sir Charles. And I like the selection of school days and the rhymes and the riddles and games. Happy days. I'm afraid sometimes the days of today are not so happy, as they are far more complicated and difficult kinds of days. But anyhow, enough of that. We are pleased to have with us this afternoon the president of TUTOR, that's the Trinidad and Tobago Unified Teachers Association. That is Martin Lumpkin. Welcome to the program, sir. And we have Walter Stewart, who is the national president of the National Parent Teachers Association of Trinidad and Tobago. And every time I hear that organization name, I remember he must have been the first president of it, a very famous man, a man who was not afraid to make his statements. I'm afraid Mr. Stewart is far more focused and deliberate in that instance. Mr. Tate made his own thing. But nevertheless, Mr. Stewart, your picture is very cloudy.
I'm not sure why it just is like that. Forgive me, I was trying to rectify it before it came on set, but I was not able to.
Surely your handsome face on the camera, on the screen. That's so, gentlemen, let me go to seeing that we have you talking already. Let's go to Mr. Stewart to give us an appreciation of how the term has opened. What are the good things? What are the bad things as far as the National PTA is concerned?
And thank you very much, Mr. Fraser, and your team. A pleasant good afternoon to all of you. New Era TT Radio, and of course, to my colleague, Mr. Martin Lumpkin. A pleasant good afternoon to all of you. Let me say that. Sure. Thank you. Let me say that the full term, academic year 2025-26, commenced yesterday, September 8th, and it is not without its challenges as to any start of the school year. But of course, I think from where we sit, the National Council of PTA, the challenges are not insurmountable. And of course, we see that they can be rectified in quick order, and we can get all our schools up and running so that we can have a very productive, successful, and meaningful academic year 2025-26. Any problems? There are some schools with some furniture issues, and this, I think, is worrying to us because when students go out to school, they expect to be seated and have a desk so that they can begin productive work. And unfortunately, a few schools are complaining to us that up to now, today's Tuesday, they do not have their full accommodation arrangements fully in place, and this, of course, is worrying to us. I'll pause here for now for your other questions.
So Martin Lumpkin, who, as I said, is the president of TUTOR, a well-known Trinidad and Tobago Unified Teachers Association. As far as the TUTOR is concerned, what are some of the problems that are being faced by most teachers and students and parents at this point?
Good afternoon, Mr. Fraser. Good afternoon to the listenership, and good afternoon again to my comrades.
It just seems most, I'm hearing you, but just let me intervene for a second. It seems as if most, in terms of our guests, cannot get out of the habit of the Mr. Fraser thing and come down to Tony. I hope we can cure that by the end of the program. So Martin, go ahead. Maybe if I
Sure, you can. Yeah, please do.
All right. So go ahead.
Okay, Tony. So, good afternoon once again, and to my comrade, Stewart, Walter Stewart. I don't know if he will chastise me and admonish me to say that to call him Walter as well.
No, that's fine.
In terms of the new academic year, let me join with the president of the NPT and say that we've had so far a relatively smooth reopening of schools. There are a couple of schools with challenges. I can tell you that I am on the road right now, as you can probably tell. I will be heading into the Heritage Field road to head home. So if I lose connectivity, please excuse me. So the industrial relations officer and the district field officer for St. Patrick, we visited the Cedar Secondary School that had some incomplete infrastructural work. But the principal would have guaranteed that what was sanitization should take place. But there are some additional work. At the Topo Secondary School, we were told that the school had to be closed yesterday and today due to some electrical work that needs to be done. There was apparently a surge in the electricity. And I can tell you that the majority of our members of the teaching service have reported for duty and are ready and raring to go. You asked about some of the challenges. We still have some level of infrastructural work that needs to be attended to. There is the continuing issue of violence and indiscipline and resources, allocation of resources to our schools. Those are just some of the areas that we are looking at. We are getting reports of an issue that's not affected. You know, Mr. Stewart has gotten this report of transfers, that there seems to be a backlog of transfers and an issue with transfers of students. And I know that we would have made representation to the Ministry of Education. But when we speak about other aspects, that there's always incremental upgrades, areas out of increments, filling up vacancies. We understand that the Teaching Service Commission is conducting internal consumer because there seems to be a shroud of secrecy over that process at this time. But those are some of the issues that our educators are facing in the education system at this time.
Let me go back to the issue of the schools being ready and being opening at the appointed time. We know that this year there was a week additional to, I presume, finish repairs and do whatever is required. Is it that too much is attempted in the holidays, or there is a need for a longer period of time to do all the work that is required? Some schools, from the reports that we hear, the electrical system is bad, and serious kinds of work which have not been done, which have not been finished. Is it too ambitious to expect that all of the work is to be done in what, 8 weeks? I don't know what the school term, the length of the school term is, but is it over ambitious, or is it bad planning, inefficiency of carrying out the work? You gentlemen, tell me. Walter.
Let me start by saying that our recommendation has always been that during the second term, this is the first term, during the second term, we are supposed to know in detail the schools that are required to do repairs during the July-August vacation. So you get your scope of works, you have your list of schools, and you will know exactly which schools are supposed to be repaired. And this list shouldn't be a list of secrecy. This list as well should be a collaborative list with the stakeholders, TUTOR, NPTA, Principal Association, primary and secondary, etc. So come the start of the July-August vacation, the Friday into Saturday, works will begin apace. And you have 8 weeks based upon the scope of works. And of course, those who are in contract and into building will be better poised to tell you about the length of time it will take. But if you are doing incremental repairs all the time, there should be nothing that will take you, my humble view, beyond the 8 weeks that the schools cannot be adequately and properly completed, and waiting for the arrival of our students on the first opening of school year for the academic year.
But Walter Stewart, this is not a problem of yesterday. As far as I remember, back in the days when I was a reporter, it has been happening for a long time, and it seems as if there is no cure for this malady.
Yeah, you are correct. You are correct. And of course, it's not until we begin to put measures in place and put pressure to bear as well on the administration that we are going to be getting some kind of relief. And it is up to us as stakeholders, Mr. Lumpkin, and our organization and other stakeholders as well, to put pressure to bear on the administration to ensure that they comply and get our schools up and running in time for September. We can no longer accept late or delays in preparation of our schools. We want, when schools open, there's never going to be a foolproof situation, there's never going to be a perfect situation, but near completion of the majority, if not all of our schools, we'll accept nothing less than that.
Martin Lumpkin, from the tutor perspective, from the teachers and the requirements of opening school on time in the best possible condition, what's the problem of not being able to do the work? Is it, as I indicated, too much work to be done in too short a period? Inefficiency? What are the problems? I don't know if Martin is hearing me. We are not hearing him.
Yeah. I know it should be okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Martin, are you hearing me? Okay, we seem to have
Seems to be a little person, probably at the internet where he's at.
Okay, so
yeah,
so let's continue with Walter Stewart, who is the president of the National PTA, the Parent Teachers Association. The same question to you: is it bad planning on the part of someone, some institution? Is it that the teachers and the parents of a particular school or all of the schools have to submit reports? Is that a responsibility of the Ministry of Education?
Vacation
period. Okay, great. All right.
Yeah, Mr. Lumpkin, are you hearing us now?
You seem to have heard us for a moment.
Yeah,
it's probably he's moving, and I suppose he goes into bad patches. Yeah, Walter Stewart, tell us how the information is taken to the government, or is it that the government has to come and investigate for itself? What transpires?
The system is that there is what is called a school-based management team, which of course involves teachers, school administration, parents as well. This school-based management team can do an assessment of the necessary and requisite repairs and maintenance of the school, forward this information to the school, the education district via the school supervisors. The school supervisors then to the education district will forward this information now to the head office, Ministry of Education on St. Vincent Street, and they will collate all this information that I'm saying again, have this information available during the second term of the school year. Do evaluation, you do a scope of works, and then of course you are ready to do the requisite repairs at the start of the July-August vacation. If at all you deviate from this plan, Tony, there is no way that you can complete and get the necessary works and the repairs done in time for September of any academic year. So there has to be a process, and you follow the process to the letter, and you monitor and ensure that everything is complete in time for the academic year.
Is the availability of contractors a problem? I don't know how many contractors do the work.
Well, right. I'm sure that you are aware that there's a department or division in the Ministry of Education called EFPPD, which is the body or the department that handles repairs and maintenance of the plant. They then give the scope of works to the Maintenance, Training and Security called MTS. And it is MTS's responsibility now to monitor the repairs on the schools by the contractors who are awarded the contract. So the contractors are the ones who complete the work under the supervision of MTS and of course EFPPD.
Will the PTA put forward ideas to correct this situation, as we all indicated, has been going on for quite a long time?
Yes, certainly we are in conversations constantly with the minister, to the technocrats as well, and we are going to propose that as a process going forward in order to be able to ensure that we get the necessary completion of our repairs on an annual basis, ready for September.
All right, just to inform our listeners and viewers that we're talking about the school opening and the usual difficulties which attend such an opening of the school after an 8-week period, during which all of the work that has to be done should be done. There was an additional week this time around to surely to allow the contractors to do the kind of work that is required. And we're talking with Walter Stewart, who is the president of the National PTA, and we're also talking with the president of TUTOR, Martin Lumpkin, but he's moving in his vehicle and he's probably getting some internet interference. So we expect that he's going to come back on stream in a short while. Let me start with Mr. Stewart. Start this question that is with Mr. Stewart, which I'm sure that TUTOR has a big input into, and of course the parents whose students are in the school. There is something of a police presence that has been defined and expedited. One expects that there are now police officers at certain schools in certain areas. First of all, Mr. Stewart, give our viewers and our listeners an idea of how far and wide the police presence is scattered.
Well, there are 60 schools, secondary schools, earmarked for police presence. For the 7 education.
Let me hear that figure. I wasn't too sure if it's 50, 50 or 60.
60 schools, right, that are listed for police presence. Of those 60 secondary schools, however, 10 are for roving police officers and 50 are for resident police officers, secondary schools. There are also 20 primary schools, 10 of which are for roving police officers and 10 for resident officers. So at the end of the day, we are looking at 50 secondary schools, 50, and 10 primary schools where there would be resident police officers. They have called the police officers school-oriented police officers. I call them SOPO, under the unit called School-Oriented Police Unit, SOPU. And as I said, they are 7 education districts in Trinidad at selected designated schools. Those are the ones that we refer to as the high risk.
Is this a development that has come specifically and only from the Ministry of Education, the government, or is this something that has been recommended by the NPTA? And I presume in Mr. Lumpkin's absence, you could talk a little bit on this score about TUTOR.
Last year, when we observed what was taking place in our schools under the previous administration, National Council, PTA, approached then Minister of National Security and the Minister in the Ministry of National Security, because we realized that this was getting out of hand. And we proposed certain initiatives to the Minister and the Minister in the Ministry, more along the line of a greater handle, a greater involvement, a greater hands-on with regards to law enforcement and what was taking place in our schools, especially in East Port of Spain. At that time, they recommended static and roving police officers around the precincts of the schools in the East Port of Spain region, or the East Port of Spain Education District. That, of course, was only temporary, because I tell you, whilst they did do the roving and the static for 2-3 weeks, never consistent, never sustainable, and that fell off the radar. So that we realized then that there has to be a greater appeal in order to be able to get a handle was taking place in our schools. So we're very happy with the advent of the new administration in April of this year, when it was realized that they were taking the whole issue of school bullying, school violence, school indiscipline quite seriously. I tell you why this is important to me, because the records at the head office indicate that there were 21,000 suspensions over a 3-year period, 2020 to 2025. Exactly. That's about 180 over a 39 instructional week for the academic year. That's a whole lot of suspension. In addition to which, Tony, you're fully aware, you have been seeing it on social media, the escalating crime and indiscipline taking place in our schools. And if this was not controlled, brought under control, it could end up fatal. We could be ending up with, untoward situation taking place in our schools. And we could not allow the situation to continue unabated without taking firm, decisive action in order to reduce and mitigate the school violence that we were presently facing.
Can you say TUTOR was on board with the determination and decision to establish the police presence in the schools?
Well, I know the pronouncements of Mr. Lumpkin in particular, as the TUTOR voice, has always been endorsing the presence of police officers in our schools.
So I think he's back. So let's hear from him directly. Martin, are you hearing us?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Are you?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah? You hear me?
All right. Yeah. So we have gone on to talk about the police. Yes, I'm hearing you.
Okay.
We've gone on to talk about the police presence in specified schools. And as we heard from Walter Stewart of the NPTA, that there are 60 secondary schools and 20 primary schools. What is this a recommendation? Is TUTOR in support of the placement of the police officers in the schools?
Okay, thank you. As Mr. TUTOR has placed on record that it is not again, so you can look at it in the positive. We are for the implementation of any measure, any initiative which will bring some level of
Right, Mr. Lumpkin.
Okay.
Mr. Lumpkin, hold on. Yeah, because the internet where you are is breaking up really badly. So yeah, what I do? I will call you back on the phone and connect you, so it won't be using up all that sort of bandwidth. So I will call you back on your phone.
Okay, sure. No problem.
All right.
Yes. So you guys go ahead in the meantime.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask now about the selected schools. I presume there was some research to identify the schools that are necessary in this overture, and if you can give us some geographies here. One, how the schools selected and where are these schools situated?
Right.
And I'm sorry, when I ask you where they're situated, I don't expect you to tell me every one of the 60 schools, but in a general kind of geographic spread.
Right. Well, let me say, for all intents and purposes, that the list of schools is meant to be confidential for now. So you will appreciate that I'm almost sworn to secrecy with regards to the list.
Okay, that's
suffice it to say, though, that we did ask the same question. How did you arrive at this particular list? We met with DCP Operations, Mr. Junior Benjamin, last Thursday, and he indicated to us that the list came from the Ministry of Education, who would have gotten reports of indiscipline and school violence, and it was based upon that list that they compiled and forwarded the list to the TTPS. We have some concerns, though, because there were two schools in particular which were flagged, in which they were in the media, social media and mainstream media, for school indiscipline, school violence, and in addition to that, in the precincts of one particular school, there was gun violence, and that school was not on the radar, was not on the list. I make reference to Southeast or the Spain Secondary School in particular, so that this morning, and of course we following that correspondence to Dr. Dowlat, we are appealing to him to include this particular school on the list, because the teachers and of course the parents were alarmed yesterday to go out and realize that there were no police officers present and they were not on that particular list. So Southeast Port Spain Secondary and Tranquility Secondary, both in the Port Spain Education District, we have asked that they be included in that particular list, making of course the increase in the numbers, obviously now for the Port Spain environment.
And of course, we've heard over a long period of time that there have been serious acts of violence at those particular schools that have been mentioned. If I remember correctly, last term or the term before that, we saw a picture of the principal lying on the floor, knocked down by the students in some kind of melee. Why? Did you get a response as to why they were not included in the first list?
Well, I have not gone to the ministers yet. We plan to do a correspondence to him as early as this evening, send it off to him. But you are correct, even the minister himself had forced to visit that particular school in company with Homeland Security Minister Alexander. So we thought that, that would have been why that was not included in the particular list, why that was not forwarded to TTPS, because those schools were flagged.
Now, on the other side of that, and I suppose it must be refreshing and a feeling of greater security on the part of teachers in the school, and we are going to wait until Martin Lumpkin comes back to talk about that aspect of it. But on the other side of that scorecard, if you will, there is the issue of stigma being attended, which will be attended. Perhaps you might say the stigma is there already, that X school and Y school and A school and B school are in need of a police presence, given the behavior of the students in the school.
Just before you answer that, Tony, is it possible you can send me back Mr. Lumpkin's number? Because apparently the number I have for him is another number.
Well, Mr. Stewart, the floor is yours while I attend to this matter. Okay,
sure,
go ahead.
No problem. So our concern as well, when this initiative was being discussed, was the terminology high-risk schools. Because already you are stigmatizing, you are tarnishing the school's image and the school's name by referencing it as a high-risk school. We would have thought then that the information would have been called, that the school would have been called, or would have been referred to as high-risk communities and not necessarily high-risk schools. I think subsequently, in a release from the ministry, I was hearing of the terminology now as priority institutions. And of course, we are a little more comfortable with that terminology. You see, when you also name a school a high-risk school, Tony, and I think it's Charles, and of course the viewership, you are also saying to would-be parents who would have otherwise wanted their child to go to that school, this is not the school to send to your child. So the student who is now in standard 5 looking to put a particular school for his first, second, third, or fourth choice would not now want to go to a high-risk school and be deemed in a high-risk school area. So that we have taken serious umbrage with the terminology high-risk school.
Yeah, so it's more like stigmatization you're talking about now.
Yeah.
Exactly so, stigmatization.
So I suppose it's a balance in between doing something to stop the violence, minimize the violence ultimately, and the stigmatization that will obviously attend to those schools. And of course, there is a further complication there, because simply identifying schools in one area or the other area, that carries with it a certain kind of social commentary on the students and the population of those schools.
I want to remind you as well, Tony and Sir Charles, that the schools were called high risk according to the TTPS, because the ministry passed that based upon records that they have. Now, there are schools as well who do not report deviant behavior, and some of them might even jolly well be worse than the schools that are on that particular list.
Okay.
So there is it's more subjective in the whole scenario, in the whole scheme of things, and that certainly the schools that we probably need to pay greater attention to are not even listed because of lack of reporting mechanism that should be.
Should the police service have a say in this, because they are they are the repository for all of the criminal activities that take place at schools across the country, and therefore they should have a handle on, just like in crime, that they have identified what it's called crime spots, hotspots, or something like that. Should they be involved in the selection of the schools?
Yeah, I would have thought that there would have been a more collaborative effort, and I didn't get the impression that there was a collaborative effort at all. I only got the impression that the list was given to them by the MOE, Ministry of Education, carte blanche, and they accepted it. But you're right. The police service exists in several, all of these education districts, several stations in some of them as well. And they would have had they should have had a greater input in the selection of the schools termed deemed high risk.
Is there another question, when we're really looking forward to get Martin Lumpkin of TUTOR, the president, back, because some of these questions are directly widely involve the NPTA. They involve centrally, in a way, the teachers in the schools.
What I would like to do, Tony, let's take a short break. And
Right.
we will come back in a couple of minutes. And you didn't send your number for me. I don't know where you said.
I thought I did, but anyhow,
Let's take a break while we sort out that and come back.
okay, good.
Okay, sure.
And paper was not yet invented. Men used to wipe their glass with razor grass and walk away quite contented. Hey, a riddle, I see two old man be so fast that they make me laugh. A riddle, run down quick. Little boy, run down quick. Donkey trip on your sister stick, so little boy, run down quick. A breeze between two mountains is pain. Plenty water lay down and water stand up cane. Sweet happy days, really happy days. School days was happy days. Big belly atta, eat shatter in parata to be the most musical father. He said he could play anything from God Save the King to Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. Biggie on the railway, picking up stones. Up come a fire engine, crush all Biggie bones. Oh, said Biggie, that's not fair. Hey, oh, said the engine driver, what the hell I get? Green as grass, white as snow. So what's up? There's a poor man handle plenty dough. In a big was happy day, really happy day. School days was happy days. And then there was this girl from Kent to a football game she went. Hey, she opened, she sold in front of the goal and inside the football went. I wish I was a sweet soul going from hand to hand. Every time there is a bed, I see the promised land. Hey, Pussycat, where have you been? Pussy went to London town, went to see the Queen. A chicken and a car, the car can't go. Chicago, Betty Coty and Innie Miney Mo. There was happy days, really happy days. School days was happy days. Friends, romance, countrymen, the world is a stage. To do or not to do, this is the question. The quality of mercy is not spread, it's paid for every young woman. Hickory, mountain, hey, monkey on the roof. Siggily, marble stone, pointer, poof. C-O-M-T-E-N-D-S means Charlie Open, then things where he come go tail. Come let we play, monkey jump up and let go one big poop. Inside them was happy days, very happy days. School days was happy days.
Okay, so we welcome you back to the Drive Time Exchange. And Tony, we are back, and I have Mr. Lumpkin on the phone. Mr. Lumpkin, are you hearing me okay now?
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we are hearing you a lot better now. All right. So,
Okay.
Tony, are you there?
Live and alive.
Beautiful.
Wonderful. So
Right.
let's go back. We have to track back on some questions that we asked in Mr. Lumpkin's absence.
But he was actually listening, I think, you know.
He was listening. Okay, so
Yes,
let's forward let's forward to the questions. The selection of the schools to which the police presence is to be had. Is TUTOR satisfied that a real attempt has been made to identify the schools which require the kind of assistance that a police presence can give to it?
The information we have thus far, and before I continue, I do apologize once again for the break in my presence there. But that being said, I'm here. The information that we would have gotten from our sources in terms of the criteria for selection would have been the data on suspensions in school and reports made to the various police stations throughout Trinidad. And those data were used to compile the list of schools. We are not aware of the list of schools, just as Mr. Stewart would have indicated. And we are not too convinced that it's a matter of confidentiality, because we will eventually get the list based upon our feedback. I can tell you I know of a couple of schools based on the feedback, but I'm not certain about the confidentiality part of it. If the Ministry of Education and Homeland Security believes that they needed to keep that confidential, well, we will go with that as such. Can I also indicate, Tony and Mr. Stewart, that last night I had a conversation with a past National Officer of TUTOR, and he indicated to me that this is not a new initiative. Actually, in the early 90s, and he was explaining to me when Minister Pantin was in office, that there were two schools, I think three, but there were two schools that had police officers in not in uniform, and they had weapons, apparently, lethal weapons, concealed though. And the two schools were San Juan North Secondary and Malik Secondary, because of what was taking place around in the community and the school as well too. So it's not a new initiative. Permit me to also say that this has drawn quite a bit of dialogue, some very mature dialogue, and then there are some based on emotions as well. And this issue, I don't think that we need to involve emotions. There must be facts. There must be a clear direction in which we want to take this. There must be clear objectives as well as to why would we want to have law enforcement officers within our school system. And there are other things, but I will yield at this time in order for Tony to go ahead.
Yeah, and then the question I asked of Walter Stewart, the president of the NPTA, is there is, I suppose, there are two sides to this coin. One, the greater security for students and teachers and administrators at the schools, and there is also the concern that a police presence, and while the schools may not be named or publicly, you can go past the school and see police presence. So is there a kind of stigma that will be attached to these schools and not work in their best interests?
I think even without the presence of police, law enforcement officers at school, there are a level of stigmatism to some of our schools based upon the community in which they are located. Some of the reports on social and mainstream media about violence and so on. So there is a level of stigmatism presently as well, even without the presence of police officers. And we get that naturally in Trinidad and Tobago. We like to place labels, sometimes good, sometimes bad, on persons and institutions without actually looking deeper into what is taking place and the influences around as well too. And the drawback to having these labels is that everyone is painted with the same brush. And we see what is happening in places in the north like Laventille. Once they hear you come from that community, you are automatically labeled as a criminal or someone that is a foul of the law. And so the question and the issue of stigmatizing the schools based upon whatever factors you want to utilize is a negative when it comes to how that school will go about their normal duties and so on. So yes, there is a level of stigmatism with and without the police presence there as well.
Yeah, I suppose it has to be taken on balance whether or not you want to control this violent behavior, which is well known. We see videos of it all the time, or whether you want to avoid this stigmatization. Something has to be done. It would be the bottom line. But is TUTOR satisfied? From your reports, you would have reports of where the violence has been taking place. Are you satisfied that all of the schools in the different areas which need the kind of protection for everyone in the school, are you satisfied with what has happened so far?
In terms of the short term or generally, Tony?
Let's say with both, because we have to deal with the short term, and I have some longer term questions on that score. But we have to deal with the short term first before we get into the longer term, or while we get into the longer term situation.
In the past, what has happened, we were not satisfied. Let me put it that way. We were not satisfied as to the type of interventions that were provided, the support that was also provided to the schools that needed the most. And yes, recently the Ministry of Education, I have to say, they are looking at reviewing the school's code of conduct and the discipline matrix. They have introduced restorative practice, which we have not gotten full information on, so I cannot comment fully on it. But it is a matter of trying to bring the student to a level that he can or she can be reintegrated into the school system. And so we look at the soft measures, but there are some harsh measures that are in the proposed draft code of conduct and the discipline matrix. And the Ministry of Education having a zero tolerance towards certain aspects of violence and indiscipline. And so the attempt is there, but much can be done, much better can be done. And let me say at this juncture as well too, Tony, that we are looking at just the symptoms of a scourge that is taking place. We are not getting to the root cause of it. And having all of these measures, law enforcement in school, having school safety officers, security officers, having student support services division, other interventions, restorative practice, mediation, peer mediation, etc., is only looking at the symptoms. We have to really get into the root causes if we want to get to a place where it is either eliminated, it cannot be fully. We all know we can appreciate, but at least a level where students feel and teachers feel and all the occupants of the compound feel a sense of security, safety, and that the teaching and learning process can be optimized in an environment that is conducive to such.
Yeah. And I think that is well said, Martin, is that you have to do some stoppage in the present, but there is a whole lot of work to be done outside of the school. In fact, it may very well be argued that the school is not the difficult area. What happens outside of the school simply plays itself out within the boundaries of the school. Is that a correct assertion?
Yes, it is. And to add to that, we all know the school is a microcosm of the wider society, a reflection of what takes place. Quite recently, schools were insulated from some of what was taking place. It was deemed a sanctuary where students can go and be protected in a safe environment. That has been changing quite rapidly, and so there needs to be that intervention, not only at the school to deal with what is taking place, but what is taking place in the wider society as well.
And that rolls the ball, as it were, into the court of the Parent Teachers Association, because parents are the ones who look after and responsible for their children and their behaviors in the school. Let me take a break here, Charlo. You can do some advertisements, and then we come back to Walter Stewart, of the president of the NPTA, to give us a sense of is there something that can be done by the NPTA, fostered even at the level of that association, to deal with what's happening in the schools.
Charm Flair Auto Services Limited, your one-stop auto repair shop, located at number 1 Industrial Lane, Charm Flair, right opposite the brewery on the Eastern Main Road. Yes, we do it all. Repairs to all makes and models, from your everyday sedan to SUVs, light trucks, pickups, and panel vans. We're also the sole distributors of Davantry tires, certified VTS inspection station, plus a wide range of services: oil change, front end and suspension repairs, tune-ups, tire alignment, batteries, electrical work, radiator and cooling system, AC repairs, and accessories galore. We offer pickup and drop-off service too. Call us today at 662-6545 or 662-6572. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Charm Flair Auto Services Limited, number 1 Industrial Lane, Charm Flair. We do it all.
Don't miss Furniture Plus Inventory Blowout Sale. Get up to 65% off in-store and online. Enjoy massive savings on furniture, appliances, and more. Hurry, this deal won't last. Shop now and save big at Furniture Plus.
S&H Rumbox, 137 Western Main Road, St. James, for all your retail and wholesale needs for alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. Call us at 686-0599 or visit us at 137 Western Main Road, St. James. S&H Rumbox, drinking out of the box.
Advertise with us on New Era TT Radio, the fastest growing streaming platform for talk in Trinidad and Tobago. Audio and video ads welcome. Elevate your brand with us. Connect with us at newerattradio@yahoo.com or call us at 299-5156. Now what are you waiting for?
So we welcome you back, people, and it's good to be here with you inside the Drive Time Exchange. This is New Era TT Radio. Remember, you can listen to us all day, every day at newerattradio.com, New Era TT Radio on TuneIn, so you get us on Alexa and, of course, all of your Google devices. And, of course, yes, you can also join us for our breakfast show on Gaia Caribbean. We carry that live on Amplia and Flow at 107 between 6 and 8 a.m. in the morning. Yeah. So we are back on the inside, Tony.
Yes, Sir Charles, and we are back on course, and we are talking about the opening of school. We've talked about the repairs. We've talked about the situation with regard to we're really stuck on the situation regard to the security and the new measures. Police at 60 secondary schools and 20 primary schools, and we've heard about the possibility of stigmatization as opposed to dealing with the difficult situation at the schools. And as Martin Lumpkin, the president of TUTOR, was making the point a moment ago, while the short-term measures may be useful, the problems are much larger than the immediate. And the parents are deeply involved in this. So we go to Walter Stewart, who is the president of the National Parent Teachers Association, to say something about parenting and the violence that is associated with so many of young students in different parts of the country in schools.
Let me say from the onset that one of the issues that we face is poor parenting, admittedly. And when we observe what is taking place in our communities with the lack of parenting situations, we have devised a 21-page proposal referred to as the parenting matrix of parents, how to be able to parent better. Some of the simple aids that we as parents can do to assist in the present situation. Simple day-to-day activities include staying close to your child. Do you really understand your child? Are you able to understand how the child is thinking? Are you in tune with the child's moods and attitudes? That's one. Monitoring the child's media preferences, etc., because we know that every child now is on social media or has a device, etc. I have a 5-year-old granddaughter, and we are able to monitor some of the applications that she's tuned into in order to ensure that the applications that she would favor are those that are going to be helpful and beneficial to her even at age 5. We also look at conflict resolution, being able to teach your child, assist your child in dealing with and helping the child to handle conflict of all sorts. Communicating with your child as well is very critical. We have to learn to communicate more with our children, cause them to understand that communication and friendly communication at that is also going to be helpful. We ourselves have to be role models to our children so that issues like respect, mannerisms, deportment, how we speak to each other, how we relate to each other, we need to model those things from time to time so our children understand how to be a better child or a better citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. So those are just a few brief pointers with regards to what our role or responsibility is in helping to mold the child that we want in our homes. And of course, we know that there's always that peer pressure as well, so that we have to understand that whilst we are doing our best at home, when the child goes out there, the child is now exposed to peer pressure at the school. And again, we have to know how to be able to deal with those issues. Those are a few of them.
From the perspective of the teachers, the police at the gate or wherever they are in the school will deal with the physical elements of the violence, perhaps outside of the classroom. But a lot of that, I would think, I haven't been to school for more than 50, 60 years. So I really not sure what happens in the classroom. Martin, that teachers also need some form of support, some form of training, and perhaps even the whole business of counselors in the school, in the classrooms, in the schools generally, to give support to the teachers.
Yeah, your statement is very true. And before I get into that, let me also support Mr. Stewart, Walter, in that every school should have a PTA to lend that support and to speak about what is just presented. And we spoke about stigmatism. We have to disabuse our parents, our schools, our administrators of the stigmatism of PTAs. A lot of people believe that the PTA is just to raise funds for the school. We have to disabuse that, and we have to ensure that there are active PTAs who lend support, because parents play an integral part of the school's life. They are one of the major stakeholders as well in the school, apart from the educators. And so let me just make that point. But in terms of resources and support, yes, by and large, and especially at the secondary school, teachers get a subject content degree, and for now, they will get the DipEd, which deals with pedagogy and some level of psychology in education, sociology in education. When I attended the training college, those were the subject areas that we did in order to our arsenal to go into. So it's not just about teaching curriculum, but realizing that you are teaching lives, that you are affecting warm bodies, and that your effect on them, your example as well too. So apart from having the resources, physical and other resources, our educators have to realize, and we have been saying to our educators, you have to be held at a higher standard because you are influencing lives. And so the old adage of do as I say and not as I do cannot be part of the teaching service. And I want to say as well too that the majority of our members of the teaching service do follow those principles, those basic principles. We do have, as with all professions, we do have the ones who are not ideal. But within the school space as well, because the teacher there acts in loco parentis, acts as the parent in the absence of the parents in the school, need to have the resources in order to deal with. And additionally, the Ministry of Education is speaking of inclusive education, which means that students of all varying ranges are in the classroom, but they are not getting the type of support in order to deal with inclusive education, in order to deal with emotional intelligence as well. We're looking at the curriculum and that book area that they call it, but we're not dealing with the emotions of our students as well too, which is a great factor. And then when we look at mental health as well, that's another factor that needs support not only to our educators but our students as well. When some of them come in there with their baggage and their trauma, how do we know? Our teachers are not qualified to deal at a level. They can do some basics, which sometimes could do more harm than good. But when we have children coming from homes that are traumatic to them and they're coming into the schools, we need to have that support in order to deal with those areas as well too.
Yeah. There is as I think about it, there is another class of students. Class is probably the wrong word, another category, because class has all kinds of connotations to it. So there is a category of students who perhaps are not thought of as being victims of all of that. That's a category of student who just wants to learn in the right kind of environment, but the disruption of their colleagues and their friends perhaps even makes it very difficult for them to progress and to go in the ways that they should go. Yes, Walter?
Yeah, but isn't that the large majority of our students in our schools? Because I tell you, it is only a small minority of students who are disruptive, who are involved in deviant behavior, and who are involved in school indiscipline, really. And it is encouraging to hear you say that. And of course, it is that kind of culture that we would want envelopes in all those schools. That's why the initiative via the TTPS and the MOE is so very critical, because we want to be able to move that small minority up to the bar where we have students who are well cultured, students who are focused, students who know what they want in society, and they are doing everything in their power to be able to get the productivity and the success that they rightly deserve by going to school. That's the idea.
Let me ask both of you, Martin Lumpkin and yourself, Walter Stewart, of how do you expect students and the school, the teachers, the parents, and everyone involved will benefit from the police being stationed? And I don't know, nobody has said, or I have not heard or read, how many police officers will be at a particular school, whether it's 1, 3, 4. Will the numbers vary over the different schools? I don't know if you can provide us with some of that information. In addition to saying, how do you believe that the discipline in the school and the students who want to do the right things in school will benefit from this initiative by the Ministry of Education?
Let me say that there are going to be at the school 2 police officers. One I'm told is referred to as a field training officer, FTO, which is, in my humble view, a more seasoned or experienced police officer, and the other would be a SRP, recently graduated or recently passed out. So you're gonna have the experience and of course the, what I call it, newbie, or the newly recruited police officer. With regards to how this is going to help, I want to remind you that this is also an additional layer to what presently obtains at our schools. We presently have members, including Mr. Lumpkin, our principal, we have our deans of discipline, we have our school safety officers, we have our MTS or private security officers as well. So the police at our schools is in no way a replacement of what currently exists, but it is an additional layer, an additional measure of support, an additional assistance to the discipline matrix at our schools. One of the issues that I want to raise as well is that the police officer, by virtue of his or her extensive training, is going to be able to inculcate or pass on some of that training that he or she has garnered whilst training to the existing cadre of safety officers, MTS security officers, even our deans of discipline as well. So that when they leave, and I'm saying when, because this is not meant, Tony and members, to be a permanent situation. This is meant to be a temporary fix in our school matrix situation. When they leave, however, by virtue of the training that they have and the discipline involved with regards to hands-on, will also be passed on to the estate constables, or the whatever they call them, their ranks of the MTS order, and also our school safety officers, to be able to better position the discipline that is taken place by principals, of discipline, and of course the MTS and the school officers, the school safety officers, with regards to better able to cope with and deal with the discipline at our schools.
Martin Lumpkin, is there any consideration, any gender consideration in terms of the allocating officers to schools which are male students or female students, and the mixed those schools with boys and girls in one unit?
I can speak of what I have witnessed. I'm speaking with the principal of a mixed school and has the law enforcement officers on the compound. And I saw them as well too. It was a male and a female officer. One was armed, one was not armed. And the principal was told that one will interact with the students and one will keep aside from them. And I would imagine the one armed one will be the one aside. And so what I'm gathering, I cannot confirm this, is that the police officer who is mingling with the students will do some level of advocacy in the areas of keeping within the law and having the students be counseled in a way, and I'm using counsel in inverted commas. What I do see as well too in having some of these officers at some of the schools is to also increase the presence and deterrence, but also the level of acceptance and trust in police officers as well too. A number of times our students, some of our students, some of the members of the public see our police officers as being one that is more than fearful. Some of them, not in the best interest of the person. Some of them themselves breaking the law. I am hoping that their presence could inculcate a sense of trust with our Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, which will augur well in the future in terms of having them do their job and being present in the society as well. So those are there's one of the positive I'm seeing of it. As I said to a previous media station, we really have to think carefully of how we are implementing this and what are the goals and objectives we are seeking to achieve in having the presence of these law enforcement officers on the compound of the school.
Okay.
And we also see in terms of there are, as Mr. Stewart has also said, deans, there are school health and safety officers, and there are the security officers. The school that I visited, and so you have placed 2 police officers, and you have deemed them as being at risk of having violence and indiscipline. But they are short of one of the school's health and safety officers. Their complement of security officers are down. They used to have 5, 4 by 1, and now they have 3, 1 by 2, and sometimes 1 by 3. And they are not even sure what their complement is supposed to be. And further to that, if there are schools, especially primary schools in the area, where a security officer does not report for duty, they usually pull from that school to fill that gap as well too. So sometimes they go down to as low as 2 to 1, and I'm hoping not 1 to 1. So having the presence of these law enforcement officers is good, but you have to look at the other support areas that are lacking at this time, and we understand there are vacancies for 48 health and schools health and safety officers. So the Ministry of Education has to fill this gap and to also raise the complement or fill the complement of school security officers as well.
Yeah.
Let me just interject here by saying on the gender issue that we did raise the gender issue, Martin and Tony and Sir Charles, with the TTPS, because especially in co-ed schools, our concern was, and of course still is, if you have 2 male officers in a co-ed school, and God forbid something is a discipline matter, and you have a female officer, how do you suppress that? A female student, how do you suppress that female student? So we are really concerned about that. The gender issue is the manpower issue from what the TTPS is saying, but of course it's something that we need to urgently look at. And I'm happy that Mr. Lumpkin said in his school that where he went, there was a male and female officer there.
Okay, so Martin Lumpkin and Walter Stewart, let's look to the future as we wind down. We have about 2 or 3 minutes left. So let's share it between you. Outside of the security matters, what are the great expectations of the term and the year ahead? Martin?
We are hopeful, and we all are always hopeful that our schools will be given the opportunity to educate our nation's children, that our educators are given the opportunity to improve and to have professional development placed upon them so that they are on top of their craft. And education is dynamic, it's not static. And as educators, we have to continue to upgrade and upskill ourselves in terms of not only the delivery of the curriculum, but also in dealing with some of the other issues, discipline, class management, etc., etc. And we are hopeful that going forward, that the Ministry of Education and the Minister of Education, the Honorable Minister, will be looking at school improvement in a more meaningful manner. We look forward to working with the NPT as well as one of our partners in education, because everyone has their part in terms of bringing the education system to where it should be. And these standardized tests, we have to take a look at them seriously as well.
Walter Stewart of the NPT. Unfortunately, I have to give you just 30 to 45 seconds for your closing comment.
The emphasis has to be on the more all-rounded student, so that whilst we are encouraging academia in a larger way and in a greater way, we have to also place emphasis on technical vocational subjects. And the inclusion of technical vocational subjects in our curriculum has to be placed at a higher level, so at the end of the day, our students can be both academically inclined as well as technically inclined as well.
Yeah. So, and you've raised a subject here that we need to devote 2 hours of a full program on, the whole business of the curriculum, and whether or not it's meeting the needs of the society, whether or not it's having a negative impact on some students who do not find themselves amongst the regular kinds of subjects, English and maths and history, all of the schools. And I'm not knocking those subjects. I'm just saying that some students are obviously more inclined to other ways and other subject areas of living. Gentlemen, we want to thank you very much for being on the program. We apologize to our listeners and viewers some of the technical errors, but we are always working to ensure that they are smoothed out. Chalo, over to you.
Thank you very much, Tony, and thank you very much for your guests for being here inside of the Drive Time Exchange. Okay.
In days of old, when men were poor and paper was not yet invented, men used to wipe their glass with razor grass and walk away quite contented. Hey, a riddle, I see two old man be so fast that they make me laugh. A riddle, run down quick, little boy, run down quick. Donkey trip and your sister stick, so little boy, run down quick. A breeze between two mountains.